Let's begin with basketball, and we have to start with the Los Angeles Lakers. Yes, LeBron James and his team were in action at the wee hours of today against the Dallas Mavericks, and it was another loss for the Lakers despite LeBron James trying so much to lift the team. 38 points, that was what LeBron James scored on the night, but it wasn't enough to get the Lakers a victory. 124 to 115 points that ended in favor of the Dallas Mavericks. And right down your screen is the statue of a legend in the game, or once, who has retired now. Talking about the Mavericks legend Norwitzki, who was honored just before the game. He had this statue unveiled in his honor. Remember, Norwitzki has been the talisman of the Dallas Mavericks all through the decades until he retired several years ago. And in 2011, it led them to their only title, talking about the NBA title, at the expense of a LeBron James-led team known as Miami Heat way back as of 2011. So Nowitzki getting the honor he deserves. Well, the Mavericks capped that ceremony with a victory, 124 to 115 points. As I said earlier, Luka Doncic, the new talisman for the team, the new face of the franchise, led scoring with 32 points and also garnered 9 assists. You had Tim Hardaway Jr. contributing 26 points in there. Christian Woods had 30 points and 7 assists, not forgetting Reggie Bullock, who scored 14 points for the Dallas Mavericks. While for the Los Angeles Lakers, I said earlier, LeBron James top scored with 38 points, but that wasn't enough to get them through. In fact, that 38 points outing this morning was a 7th successive in terms of the game. So, in 7 successive games, LeBron James has scored 30 plus points, and that is, the longest stretch of a record in the NBA this season. At this time, LeBron James has that record of scoring 30 plus points, 7 successive games and counting. No player in the NBA at this time has that record. It only shows you what the king is doing, although it's not reflecting in terms of the Lakers' records. You had Russell Westbrook contributing 17 points, Austin Reeves as well with 16 points. Well, the win takes the Mavericks to 18 wins and 16 losses to the start of the season, while for the Lakers, they are now 13 wins and 20 losses to the start of the season. This is a game that they will reap because they were leading by 12 points in the third quarter before the Mavericks, rallied back, as it were, and they are missing Anthony Davis badly. There's so much that LeBron James can do, yet so little. So the Lakers will be taking on the Orlando Magic on Tuesday, while for the Dallas Mavericks, they will be taking on the New York Knicks on Tuesday as well. Let's see if the Lakers can get back to winning way, as it were. Away from the Lakers, let's turn our attention, still talking basketball, let's turn our attention now to the defending champions, the Golden State Warriors. No Curry, no problem, as long as you have a man known as the Pole. Yes, Jordan Poole top scored for the Warriors, 32 points in that outing, as the Warriors won 123 to 109 points over the Memphis Grizzlies. And as I said earlier, Jordan Poole with 32 points. You had Klay Thompson scoring 24 points, also giving out, gathering 9 boards in there. DiVincenzo had 19 points, not forgetting T.Y. Jerome with 14 points. Draymond Green, yes, had 13 rebounds and dished out 13 dimes as well. And remember, this is the 5th successive game that Steph Curry is missing as a result of a left shoulder injury and is expected to miss at least 2 more. While for Andrew Wiggins, he has missed 10 successive games as a result of a right adductor strain, and the return date is unknown for Wiggins. Well, that didn't deter the Warriors from winning, and the win takes their record to the start of their title defense to 16 wins and 18 losses. While for the Memphis Grizzlies, talisman Ja Morant top scored for them with 36 points, but that wasn't enough to get them the win. You had Steven Adams contributing 14 rebounds in there as well. It still couldn't get them the victory. The Grizzlies are now 20 wins and 12 losses to the start of the season. The Grizzlies definitely are a firm position to claim a playoff spot once again. They'll be taking on the Phoenix Suns on Tuesday, while for the Golden State Warriors, they'll be taking on the Charlotte Hornets on Tuesday as well. Let's see if they're able to make it back-to-back wins, talking about the Golden State Warriors. Well, let's turn our attention now to football, and the Premier League is back. Yes, it's days after the World Cup. You now have European League action back, and that's what so many fans are expecting, from Chelsea to Arsenal, you name it, top clubs all over the world. But it's the Premier League precisely that is back, and you have Arsenal, big teams, on display this time around. Let's start with the off-field, event, and that's about Matheus Cunha, who has now been signed by Wolverhampton Wanderers, and it's initially for a loan before making the move permanent, and that's a deal that you should expect should come good for Wolverhampton Wanderers. He is the first signing of new manager Julian Lopetegui, who will be hoping to get the Wolves team back on track. Remember, Wolverhampton Wanderers have a paltry 10 points from 15 games, and they sit bottom of the Premier League standings at this time. Well, let's move away from there now and turn our attention to today's matches. Quite a handful of them. 8 of them precisely. The other 2 or 3 will be played later on. But let's start with table toppers Arsenal. Arsenal will be in action, and it's right there at the Emirates against West Ham United, although they will be doing that without Gabriel Jesus, who is battling with injury and will be sidelined for weeks. It means that Mikel Arteta's men would have to preserve their 5-point lead at the top of the table, pending the time Jesus returns, and possibly till the end of the season. But they'll be taking on West Ham United, and quite an interesting one for Arsenal because they'll fancy their chances going into this game. They are the better side according to the table. More importantly is when you go through the stats, they have the stats in their favor. They've won their last 3 games, with an aggregate score of 8-0. Talking about their last 3 Premier League games prior to the World Cup. Meanwhile, for West Ham United, they lost their last 3 games on a row. So it's looking good for Arsenal than West Ham. On the flip side, Arsenal have lost just 2 of their last 28 meetings with West Ham United. So it means that Arsenal will go into this as firm favorites. Remember that they've also won 10 straight games when it comes to Boxing Day competition. So Arsenal looking good. Eddie Nketiah looks like the likely replacement for Gabriel Jesus in the starting lineup. And in his last 10 starts for Arsenal, he has scored 10 goals when it comes to home matches. So it's looking really, really good for Arsenal against West Ham United. Let's see if they will be able to make that count in the real sense in terms of the 90 minutes plus time that will be played. Well, away from that, let's look at Liverpool. Liverpool will be in action, and this time around it's against Aston Villa. Liverpool need all the points they can get at this point because they need that resurgence. And for Liverpool, it's a time where they can't afford to, lose points or grounds against their rivals. They are currently 6th on the table, haven't played 14 games, but they have 22 points, and that's not looking good as they are 15 points behind, Arsenal, who are the table toppers. Of the Premier League standings at this point in time. Liverpool will have to do this without Luis Diaz, who is, out injured. And the good news for them is Mohamed Salah will be playing in this one. He scored in the, fixture against Manchester City. So he should be able to get going, considering Egypt didn't qualify for the World Cup, so he's well rested than other players as it well. For Aston Villa, well, Unai Emery has won his first 2 games in charge. He will be hoping to make it the 3rd one, and he will become the first Aston Villa manager to win 3 straight games in charge. Let's see if they can make it happen. Well, let's continue with our preview of today's matches, and let's now turn our attention to King Power Stadium. It's Leicester City against Newcastle United, and we have to talk about Newcastle United now because they are 3rd on the Premier League table. More importantly is the Orange men are high flying at this point in time. 15 games played, 30 points, sitting 3rd, just behind Manchester City and Arsenal on the table, and it looks like the project at the St. James's Park is heading in the right direction as it were. Well, quickly, you know quite well that Newcastle are on a 5-game winning streak, and they've lost just once in the Premier League this season. You also have to take into cognizance the fact that Miguel Almiron has 8 goal involvements in 8 matches. Remember, it was on that stunning form just before the World Cup break itself. Leicester City are also on a very good form. They started the season on a disastrous note, and it looked like they were going to be relegated, but they've won 4 of their last 5 matches. So it means that this game definitely has two teams that are in form meeting, and it only means one thing: we will have a competitive game on our hands. More importantly, it should be able to deliver the goods in terms of goals, crunch tackles, and what have you. Those things that delight us, that makes us glued to our TV screens when we watch football. That's what we should expect from this match. For Newcastle United, you probably want to fancy their chances, although it's difficult to also judge how the World Cup break would affect both teams in terms of players who didn't go to the World Cup and had to keep up training, or those who went to the World Cup are unavailable for their teams as a result of the World Cup break.